Saturn moved into Pisces on March 7th, the same day as the full moon in Virgo occurred. Since I normally create horoscopes based on the moon, I didn't do as much about Saturn, but I did put some infographics on Facebook. So Saturn is bringing structure and laying down the law in our areas of emotions, subconscious dealings. And this is going to be a really spiritually powerful transit, but it might not be in the way that we necessarily want it to be. You know, when we think of spiritual and emotional stuff, we think about the, wooey gooey up in my head, fantasizing, as if I'm floating in the clouds, going on a vision quest. I'm at a sweat lodge, something spiritual and amazing and abnormal is going on. But Saturn is really more about the physical structures and the physical laws of things. And it's going to set us right. So if we are perhaps confused about our spiritual path, or we have some misconceptions, that's going to start to come out. There might be some cult type leaders who had bad intentions who are exposed during this time. And there might even be like more regulations or standards or positive leadership that is going to be stepping in to try to improve the way we manage these spiritual spaces. Because if you are on Facebook or Instagram and you're following any type of spiritual page, whether it's angel cards or magic, or astrology, you might have seen some scammers pop up. So Saturn in Pisces is going to be dealing with that kind of thing. The people who message you saying that your great-great-grandma wants to contact you and then they scam you for who knows how much money. Saturn in Pisces is going to be dealing with that kind of thing. But on a more personal level, we will be dealing with our own religious and spiritual beliefs and how we relate to other people on a deeply emotional level. Our ability to have compassion, our ability to not just see eye to eye, but recognize them as almost a part of ourself. And we might feel like we're being prevented from doing that in some way. We're being prevented from bonding with the rest of humanity on a spiritual level. Likely due to distrust and past traumas. That's another thing that Saturn in Pisces is really going to be bringing up for us. Those past traumas that affect our spiritual life, that affect our spiritual connections with others, and perhaps have even created unhealthy habits over time. So over the next 2.5 years, it's going to be kind of on and off, but over the next 2.5 years or so, notice if you see maybe you had psychic abilities or intuition and you start to struggle with them all of a sudden. There'll be something for you to confront and something for you to work through before you're able to get your abilities back. Notice if you are not feeling as connected with other people, and notice if something feels off in whatever types of spiritual places or places of worship where you are going, and think about why exactly it is. And what's interesting about this is Saturn wants almost kind of proof of things, but religion and spiritual stuff tends to be stuff that we can't prove. And that's why we call it spiritual or religious. And maybe someday science will catch up. But another thing I'd be interested to see is if we have more, scientific discoveries that give us information that we might have been lacking, and it could disprove certain spiritual beliefs that people have had, or it could actually prove them. And then, of course, we might even be dealing with false attempts to prove or disprove things one way or the other, which is something humanity has seen forever. There's people out there who want to be able to prove that God doesn't exist, but you cannot prove that God doesn't exist. Even if you truly, truly believe he doesn't exist, I think you should know that there's no way to actually prove the lack of something. But I wanted to go through each sign of the zodiac and talk about how it's likely to affect you. It might be more challenging if you have harsh aspects, so squares or oppositions that will be affecting Saturn and Pisces. So it is important to look at your personal chart and get a reading. I will have the link to my website in the description below. But let's get on with the show. So Aries. You guys are going to be dealing with this in the most literal way because you are the first sign of the zodiac, and it is going to be about your spiritual life, your subconscious, the things that cannot be seen. You might feel that you feel just like a little bit lost. You feel this like weird sense of displeasure, almost like an emotional, deep emotional type of pain in your life, or you're just not satisfied with something and you can't quite put your finger on it. You can't figure out what it is. And as an Aries, you're usually so straightforward and so sure of everything. So it's definitely going to be kind of awkward going through this phase where you don't know why you're not satisfied with what exactly it is you're getting and what you are actually being called to do during this Saturn and Pisces transit is to do more volunteer work, to do more community service, and to help people who are suffering from ailments, who are, sick, struggling in some way. That's what you're being called to do. Next, we have Taurus, and for Taurus, it's going to be about community, friendship, might even be about coworkers. So you could end up having a moment where you realize some of your friendships weren't particularly healthy, and delving more into that. That's something you've kind of been dealing with over the past few years or so anyway. And it might be about coworkers more than it is people you would actually call friends as well. But you're not just realizing this, but you're learning to really create boundaries when it comes to the people in your circle and the people you are dealing with. So this will allow you to have healthier friendships in the future, but you might really be putting your foot down with some people as you create those boundaries. Gemini. For Gemini, it's going to be your house of career and long-term goals. So I already feel like Geminis have been putting a lot of pressure on themselves the past year, maybe more, and blaming themselves for things that were out of their control, that weren't their fault, that they couldn't do anything about, and wishing that they were able to have a higher level of success. And Saturn is here to show you how to do that. And it's not going to be instant gratification or anything like that. It might not be the types of instructions that you necessarily wanted to receive in life, but you're going to have probably some doors close in your face so that other doors can open, and so that you can start to work on your career and really your higher spiritual calling, rather than doing things just because you were good at them or just because you were able to do them, which might be what you've been doing for a while now, just using your skills, but not really using your higher calling. So that's why you're going to be going through these difficulties with career. And if you listen to the message, it can definitely go more smoothly. Cancer. Cancer, you guys are having this in your house of travel and higher learning. So there's likely going to be some opportunities to travel or to go back to college and further your education. And you're going to start to feel that there's a necessity to do this. There's something that's really been missing in your life. And you feel like you haven't done everything you can do or everything you're meant to do. And there's a next step you have to take in order to be able to further improve yourself and live out your purpose. Next, we have Leo. So for Leo, it's going to be in the 8th house, which is about shared resources, taxes, and death. Basically, it's about things that we cannot really control. And this is an uncomfortable place for just about any planet to be. So let me try to break this down easy for you, Leos. So some Leos are going to be mourning the loss of a loved one. Some Leos are going to be dealing with the falling out of a divorce. And it's likely going to be a frustrating time in a lot of ways, and you're going to have to learn to keep your head above water and stay focused on the things you can control and the things that you do want to be able to accomplish as you go through this 8th house transit. Virgo. So for Virgo, it's going to be in your 7th house, which also can indicate divorce, but please, please, please look at your own personal aspects in your chart and don't just assume that something's going to happen just because there's no way every single Virgo on the planet could get a divorce. That would just be crazy. But it's really going to challenge you in your relationships with other people. You're being asked to take responsibility in a new way, most likely dealing with boundaries and not settling for less, not putting yourself in a bad situation just because you want to be able to help someone or just because you have feelings for someone. You might also be seeing other people laying down their boundaries with you a little bit more, and some things you had done that were hurtful to them that they're not willing to tolerate anymore. So this really is just about learning about boundaries. And the more you respect those boundaries, both your own boundaries and other people's boundaries, the more success you're going to have with this transit. Libra. For Libra, it's going to be your house of health, work, daily routines. So you're going to be learning how to work more productively, how to take small steps towards your goals every single day, and how to ultimately live the type of life that you actually want to live. If you've been reading my horoscopes over the past few months, you've probably noticed that I've talked with Libra people about the health challenges they've been facing. Some of it could be, bad habits, addictions, those types of things, and just negative choices that they were making that had a negative impact on their health. There might be something that happens during this transit that forces you to correct some of the bad decisions that you were actually making. It could be something like getting fired from a job, but if you do get fired from a job, it is because it is a job that was not a good fit for you and that was unhealthy for you in some way. So you need to keep that in mind if you see this happening in your life. You might also notice, like, for example, you could start to get like a pain in your knee or something like that. And that's going to be like, hey, there's something wrong with your fitness routine and the way you're treating your body. So now you have to correct that and you have to modify your routine. So just pay attention to those little signs. Don't ignore anything, Libra, and don't try to overlook things and blow it off as if it's nothing. Next, we have Scorpio. So for Scorpio, this is about children and fun, pleasure, passion, but it's like bringing the rules down and like really laying down the responsibility in these areas. So you might feel really inspired to turn a passion into a profession during this period. Maybe you had something creative you liked to do and you want to see if you can turn it into a career, make some money with it. And this is a good time to do that. So please do use this transit in that way. Make extra time for your creative projects and your passion babies or whatever you call them. And it's possible that a lot of Scorpio people will be having children during this time or adopting children, and that'll be them taking on this sort of extra responsibility. But really, this is like one of the better places to have Saturn right now. So it might feel like at times it's going to feel like you're not able to enjoy things and have the type of fun that you wanted to be able to have. And it might feel like there's forces coming in, adding to your plate and being just kind of a buzzkill. Even when you like used to think something was fun, someone's now like bossing you around about it. And like the pressure we put on ourselves when we turn a passion into a profession, for a lot of people, they find that it's less fun when they do that. Now, trust me, as an astrologer, which is my passion and my profession, there are ways around that, and there are ways to do it so that you still enjoy it, but that you're getting the bills paid and you get your job done. And it's mostly just a change of mindset. So please enjoy this transit and don't let anything really be that big of a buzzkill for you. Next, we have Sagittarius. Okay, I feel like there's a lot of Sagittarians who have been wanting to move, and this might be when it actually happens because it's in your house of home and family. So there's a calling to reconnect with your roots, to take more responsibility over your family and your living situation. And there might be a bit of a tough decision that you have to make. Maybe there's something that isn't ideal that's been going on with your home life, with your living situation, and you have to take a leap. And it's for some, it's going to be a lot more I honestly, I feel like it's going to be emotional for all you guys, but it's going to be emotional in different ways and for different reasons. Some of you are really having relationship problems with the people you live with, like you guys just aren't getting along, or it could be that you're having issues with your landlord and they're not doing what they need to be doing. Um, and you are going to have to part ways with them for whatever reason. For some of you guys, it's someone you love very dearly, but things are just starting to get too intense for you. Perhaps you have too much on your plate and you have to let them know your limitations. So there are going to be some changes and some added structure coming to your home life. Um, it's possible that there's not actually going to be a physical relocation, but there's just going to be a lot of added structure and finding ways to resolve those problems that you have been experiencing. Next, we have Capricorn. So for Capricorn, it's in the house of communication, neighbors, siblings. So this is not a bad place to have Saturn. It can be good for your career, especially for your networking, but you're going to have to realize that there's certain people who can't offer you what you actually want. So you might be trying to make negotiations in sales in your career, or negotiations with people in your personal life, and it's just not working. You're not getting what you want no matter what you say to them. And for the most part, it's genuinely going to be for whatever reason this person cannot provide the thing you're asking them to provide. And in your personal life, sometimes it's going to be an emotional reason. And heck, even in your job, sometimes it's going to be an emotional reason. You know, sometimes we end up with bosses who have these horrible biases and won't give us the promotion no matter like how much we deserve it because of their bias. And then there's also going to be situations with clients who don't have enough money. So you're going to have to find a workaround for these things and figure out what is limiting you when you try to negotiate and get what you want. And basically be careful about who you ask for what. Be more mindful about what you're asking and whether or not the person you're asking can actually provide that thing. Next, we have Aquarius. So for Aquarius, it's in your house of resources. So, the sign that went through this transit before you would be Capricorn. Capricorn has Saturn in their house of resources. And some Capricorns did end up struggling a little bit financially during this time, but honestly, every single Capricorn I know came out of it better than ever, making more money than they did in the first place, just super successful, doing amazing in life. So Aquarius, it's likely to be a little bit the same for you. You might have a little bit of a bumpy road before. You might have kind of like an oh snap moment. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get everything I need from the current job that I'm working and with my current income. And it's basically just making sure that what you are getting paid, and the resources you are being given in life are enough to pay for what is being asked of you and then some, you know? And that's all it is. It's really a very simple, straightforward place for Saturn. You don't need to be scared about the money problems you're going to be facing. You just need to make sure that you are living within your means and that other people are accommodating, like your job and stuff is accommodating that, so that you don't have to feel like you're living in a deficit. But you are going to have at least a little bit of a moment where you feel like you're living in a deficit, and it might even start with you making some kind of decision, maybe to buy a bigger house, or to take on some kind of new financial responsibility. And then you start to see, oh, I actually need to make more money too now that I have this new financial responsibility. And then you start to make the change from there. And then you come out of this transit richer than you were before, which is great. Next, we have Pisces. So Pisces, this is in your sign. Yay, hooray, happy birthday. So given that it's in your sign, it can affect your life in just about any way. pretty much all the ways that I said for all the other signs can also affect you, but that doesn't mean that they're going to. So this is an opportunity to kind of redefine yourself and look at yourself very scrupulously, and to see if you are living your life the way that you actually want to be living it, and be able to correct things and make decisions based on that. So perhaps you are not quite satisfied with the way other people are responding to you. Well, you're going to change up your image, change up your look, and be able to have more influence and control over the way people see you and perceive you, which can have positive impacts on your love life. It can have positive impacts on your career. It can have positive impacts on the way your family thinks of you, just everything. So you might find that you have moments where you need to defend yourself during this transit. You might have some people who are being critical, who are taking you for granted, who are really just downplaying you and trying to make it sound like you're not worth what you're actually worth. So your boundaries are going to be important here, but not just boundaries. It's really about self-respect and being willing to stand up for yourself, stand tall and strong as a professional, as a lover, and with all of the roles you take on in life. Okay, everyone, that's it. Take care. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye.